Hello guys, this is Mantrix Ray, and I'm showing you some resolution comparisons between native 1440p versus native PS2. I will also be doing some frame rate testing and show you guys the best settings for state of emergency. We are using large frame buffer, we're going to skip that for now, 16 times anisotropic filtering, automatic default for mip mapping, full direct 3D recommended, and we are using alpha stencil. Now unfortunately this game has shadow problems, so you have to turn that on. This is for hardware mode only. Now keep in mind, OpenGL does not work at all for any of the shadow problems. You have to turn on this for Direct3D 11, and we are not using MSAA at all as well. Unfortunately, even at 2 times, it eats up all my horsepower for my graphics card, which is the GTX 980, and also at 16 times MSAA costs 3.8 gigabytes of video RAM, so almost on par with how much video RAM I have in general, which is 4. So I cannot use it at all. We are using texture filtering of display and FXAA shader. Now back to here real quick. Now I can't use the custom resolution of 2560 by 1440 because this is one of those games that has broken widescreen problems. It has a very chunky black box on the right hand corner of my screen. It takes up a lot of my screen, so it's broken. Also, a Fistful of Boomstick, which is the Evil Dead series, has the exact same problem where you have a nice black box on the side of the screen that you can't get rid of unless if you choose internal resolution. 5 times native is very close to 2560 by 1440. Now I'm also using bilinear forced. The health HUD on the top left keeps flickering between bilinear PS2 and forced, so it's very distracting, so I have it on forced so it stays like that. And yeah, direct 3D recommended. I direct 3D 11 hardware as well. Now unfortunately this game is very CPU intensive, so you have to turn on MTBU. I have 6 cores, they want 3 cores, and unfortunately even with this turned on it still has like a lot of slowdown for me. My clock speed is at 3.33 gigahertz, which is the base clock. It can go up to higher, but I can't do it unfortunately. But you need a lot more than 3.33 gigahertz to run this game at full speed. Keep in mind this game only targets 30 frames per second as well, so that's kind of a little bit scary that it's really that slow. But anyway, we'll show you guys. Now let's check out the native PS2. Now native PS2 targets 512 by 448. Get rid of that at the bottom. So my counter's on the top left, as you see where my cursor is. Now it says 60, but it actually is not true. The game targets 30 frames per second. So let's see if it drops down. If you see it drop down to lower than 60, that means it's obviously dropped a frame or two or even lost some game speed. So let's have a look at all this. So software mode runs beautifully on this game, but if I go to hardware mode, the game looks a lot clearer, but unfortunately does drop a lot of frames, as you see. So I'm down to 52, which is around about 25 frames, 24 frames. Now unfortunately the texture filtering does not work at all. The anisotropic filtering, I set it to 16 times, doesn't even work at all. So I can't do anything about that. There's a lot of shimmering on the ground, as you see. If you view at oblique angles, it's very, very visible. Now keep in mind, I am downsampling 800 pixels. If you minus 2240 by 800, that's 1440p. So which is 800 pixels off my native resolution I normally do this at. Now right now, since it's at a higher pixel count than normal, I am actually downsampling 800 pixels, so it will look a little bit clearer than native 1440p. So let's get into doing some comparisons. So here's native PS2. As you see, all the signs have gone all like blurry. As you see where my cursor is, it's all blurry now. But if I go to native 1440p, it's a lot more clearer. You can see the text a lot better. If you look on the distance, like that building in the background right up there, if you go down to native PS2, you can see that the windows are harder to see, and it actually, it's a bit shimmery as well. But if you go to 1440p, there's no shimmering, and also it's a lot clearer. Now, even with that MSAA turned on, there's really not any jaggies at all. This is one of those games that has a good engine where it already eliminates a lot of the aliasing, which is good. But other than that, now the HUDs, as you see, this health HUD normally flickers, but it's not flickering anymore. It is a little bit blurry at 1440p. I'm going to be calling it 1440p, by the way, instead of whatever the resolution is at now. if you get the point. And also the HUD down here, the text HUD looks pretty good, even at this resolution. There's that HUD right there, the star. It looks a bit blurry, unfortunately. Now, if I press the back button, this all actually targets at 60 frames per second. You can see the navigation's at 60. If I press start, obviously that animation's at 30 frames per second. That's at 60, which is very nice and smooth. And that's pretty much everything, really. Let's have another look at native PS2 real quick. Native PS2, native 1440p. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you guys for watching.